Up until now, you've learned how to draw a simple top view and front view of a prism. Now today we're going to have a look at drawing a front view and top view of a prism, but we're going to take that prism, like this one, and instead of drawing it sitting flat on a surface, we're going to take it and we're going to tilt the prism and then draw what the front view and the top view would look like. Now, if you have a look at the prism that the front view and the top view of the prism that I've got here, you can clearly see that you've got the front view, the top view over here, and then the front view here, and then you'll see that I've put another view at the top over here. And that's just to help you understand how to start the construction of the front view and top view of a prism, which is no longer sitting flat, but is now being tilted over. And you need to know that this XY line that you can see that I've labeled over there, it's important that you understand that whenever you are moving from one view of a shape to another, that we always take that view and move it across and over an XY line, similar to what I've drawn in over here. Okay, and that's going to be important for the numbering that we're going to do later on in starting our drawing of this shape now tilted. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're now going to have a look at what that would look like. Okay, now you can see over here you've got a front view of our prism, which is now being tilted. Okay, clearly see there it's now been put on its side. Up until now you've only drawn it sitting straight up like that. We've now taken it and we've simply turned it. Okay, and we've turned it to a 30-degree angle, and we've got our front view of our shape there. This view over here is what we call an auxiliary view. It's short for helping view, and that view over there is similar to the view that I showed you over here. Okay, and that, if you watch how your views are moved across your XY lines, that was your top view, that was your front view, then this view over here is a view of the bottom of our shape. So this view that we've got here, okay, if that was your front view, that is a view of the bottom of your shape. And we're going to use that view to help us draw our front view and then also help us draw our top view of our prism, which has been tilted. And to do that, we all have to go and start by drawing that auxiliary view. When you did this exercise, you started with your top view here, because you could see in your top view the true shape of the prism that you were drawing. So you drew your top view and then you projected and drew your front view. Same thing over here, except we can't start with the top view because the top view of a tilted prism looks completely different to just a straightforward hexagon shape like that. Yeah, it doesn't look like that. If you look at it there, you can see that of course that's a very different view of our hexagonal prism. So we can't start with that view. That's one of the views we're going to have to go and construct. We can, however, start with the true shape of the top shape of our prism, and that is what we're going to start with over here in our auxiliary view. So our first thing that we're going to do when we start this exercise is to go and draw this hexagon first. Okay, but the other important thing here is this XY line that you have over here. If our front view of our shape has been tilted at a 30-degree angle, then the angle of this XY line over there has to be 60 degrees. And the reason for that is because the angle that must be formed between the line that you extend across your XY line and your XY line must be a 90-degree angle. So if this is lying at a 30-degree angle, then this XY line must be at 60 degrees. If this XY line was at a 45-degree angle, then this would be a 45-degree angle as well. So the two added up must always give you 90. This is lying at a 30-degree angle this time, so this would have to be a 60-degree angled line. So to start off the construction, we're going to take our 60-degree set square and we're going to go and draw in the first side of that hexagon, and I'm going to use a size of 25 millimeters for the sides of that hexagon. And you're going to start off by going and drawing one side sitting at a 60-degree angle. Now remember that normally when you started the construction of a hexagon, that was normally sitting, it normally sat like that, a side that was flat on the ground, and then you constructed your hexagon from there. Now all we're doing is we're taking that and we're angling it at 60 degrees. So that means that the construction that we use is not going to change. We're going to still use our compass. We're going to place our compass on the one end point of the baseline, open it up to the other, and then make an arc, turn it around, take it to the other side, make another arc, and then on that point go and draw our circle, and all the usual steps that we use to go and construct a hexagon. By taking each of those points, going and marking them off on the circle, and then of course simply joining each of those points up to go and complete our hexagon. And now what we've got is we've got a hexagon which is tilted at a 60-degree angle, and that's because we started the base of our hexagon at a 60-degree angle using our 60-degree set square. And remember that we found that the baseline had to be at a 60-degree angle because our shape was tilted at a 30-degree angle. And we noted that those two angles have to give us 90 degrees. Okay, so there's our hexagon that we need to start with as our auxiliary view. And then we're going to go and draw in our XY line at a 60-degree angle. Now remember that we always have a 10 mm gap between each view and our XY lines. So I'm going to mark that, and then I'm going to draw my XY line in over there, okay, with that 10 mm gap, and I'm going to label it XY. Okay, so that was our first step, to go and start with our auxiliary view. In our previous drawings, as I say, we started with our top view. Okay, we started with the top view and we drew and projected the front view. But now we have to start with this auxiliary view, and then we're going to do the same projection. Now because this line here is at a 60-degree angle, our projected lines have to be at a 30-degree angle to leave us with that 90 degrees between the XY line and our projection lines. So my set square is now at a 30-degree angle, and I'm going to go and project. You'll see that all of my projection lines going across here are now at a 30-degree angle, which creates that 90-degree angle over there. But before I carry on, there's one very important thing that we've always got to remember to do, which you did with your top view and your other drawings, and that's to label. So I'm going to label each corner here in my auxiliary view. I'm going to use numbers. Doesn't matter where you start, as long as you label all of them. Okay, now once that labeling is done, I'm then going to go and put in my 10 mm gap again before I start my next view. And we're going to say that the height of this prism is 70 millimeters for this question. So that's my 10 mm gap. I'm going to draw in the top of that front view and then measure 70 millimeters along. Okay, to then draw in the first side of that front view, and then the baseline, and then the other side. And then of course you can clearly see that these corners over here are projected across that front view, which are going to give you two dark lines in your front view there. So we're going to draw those in. Okay, so that gives us our auxiliary view. We've used our auxiliary view now to go and draw our front view. And we've made sure that we have our 10 mm gaps over here between our views and our XY line. And remember that this XY line was at a 60-degree angle, and that these projection lines here were at a 30-degree angle, because we said that we were taking our shape and we were tilting it at a 30-degree angle to give us that front view. Now once the front view is complete, we now want to move to getting our top view. And to do that, we're going to go and find the bottom point of that front view. We're going to measure 10 millimeters away again, and we're going to draw in a new XY line. Because remember, to move from one view to the other, we always move over an XY line. So similar to what I explained to you here. Okay, as soon as you move from your top view here to get to your front view, you moved over an XY line. Okay, to get from your top view to your front view. Okay, and to get from your front view to that bottom view, you moved over another XY line. So here again, we've done our auxiliary view. We've moved from our auxiliary view over that auxiliary view to our front view. Now to get to our top view, we've got to move over another XY line to get there. So we've got to go and draw in that XY line, and I'm going to call that X1, Y1. Okay, now before we can go and find our top view, we need to go and label this front view according to the labels that we did in our auxiliary view over here. And we've got to be very careful now to make sure that we transfer the labeling from our auxiliary view to our front view correctly. So it's going to be important that you understand this whole moving across an XY line concept. So obviously point 1 and point 4 are quite easy because they only line up with 1 point in our front view. So that of course is going to be corner 1 and corner 1. And this will be corner 4 and corner 4 over there. Remember of course that these points represent two corners. One over there at the top and one at the bottom below it. Okay, so now we're having a look at the numbering for these corners. We've done 1 and 4, and you can see that I've quickly written in the labeling over here for 2 and 6, but just so that you understand as how I got that, you can see there that I've labeled this corner as 2, 6 and that corner as well as 2, 6. Why have I put the 2 first and the 6 second? And that's important in that if you watch here, you can see that if I take my prism and there's my point 2, okay, my point 2 is over there, so that's my point 2. If I take it and flop it over, you can see point 2 is seen first over here. Now whenever we label, we always label the corners that we can see first. We label them first, and then after that the corners that are behind them. So if you look at point 6, there's point 6, there's point 2, there's point 6. If this gets flopped over and down, point 6 over here is below point 2 at the top here. So we are going to write 2 first, then 6, because 6 over here is below point 2. Okay, so that's why we've got 2, 6 and 2, 6. So over here, if you look at point 3 there, okay, there's your point 3. It would be that corner here. Point 3 is that corner. Sorry, other way around. Point 3 is that corner. Point 5 would be that corner. And if that flops over our XY line, point 5 you can see over here is below point 3. So we're going to label this as 3, 5. 3 seen first and 5 is seen second. Same with this corner, that's 3, 5. 3 seen first and then 5 afterwards. Okay, now we've done that, we're now going to take each of those points, okay, these points here, and we're going to project them down into our front view to go and get our top view. So we're going to project them from the front view into the top view. So we're going to now let's start with the top of this shape. We're going to start with point 1 over there, and we're going to project point 1 straight down into our top view. Now we have to find where on this line is point 1. And to get that, we're going to take the measurement from the previous XY, which is this line here, because we work from this XY line at the moment. So we go to the previous XY line, and we take the measurement from that XY line over to where point 1 is. We measure that, which for me is going to be 31 millimeters. And then we go back onto the line that now represents point 1, and we go and measure from the XY line down 31 millimeters. That point now is point 1 in my top view. When we go and we do it again, okay, let's take point 4. We're going to take point 4, we're going to project it down, and then we're going to go one XY line back, which is over there, and we're going to take the measurement from the XY line to point 4. We measure that, which is again 31 millimeters, and then we measure from that XY line going down on 0.4's line, measure down 31 millimeters, mark it, and that is now 0.4 in our top view. So we have taken a measurement from there and we've placed that same measurement there. Okay, we're going to do that now for every single one of our points. So the same thing's going to happen for point 2 and point 6, which is going to be on the same line because it's that point over there that we bring down. So we project down point 2, 6, and then we go and measure. From that XY line for point 6, of course, is going to be 10 millimeters. So we can measure on that line 10 millimeters down, mark it, and we know that that's 0.6. Then we go and measure from the XY line to point 2, and we know that that's 53 millimeters. So we go and measure along that same line, and we mark off 53 millimeters, and that is now my point 2. And if you go and do the same thing for point 3 and point 5, by projecting point 3 and point 5 straight down, project that down, you'll go, if you go and measure the distance to point 5, you'll see that it will come directly in line with point 6 over there, okay, and you'll get point 5 next to point 6, and then of course if you take the measurement from there to point 3, you'll find that that of course will also get you point 3 next to point 2. That will be point 3 there then in my top view. Okay, so now we've got those points in the top view. You'll see that that's starting to take shape. If I lightly with construction lines join those points together, you'll be able to see that that forms a squashed hexagon now in my top view. Okay, and there it is. And that's just from projecting each of my points down and then taking my measurements from the XY line to each of those points here in my auxiliary view and measuring them from that XY line down to mark them off here in my front view. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the bottom points of this shape. So I'm going to take each of these, I'm going to project those down into my front view. And then again the same thing, I'm going to go and take the measurements from my XY line here to each of those points and I'm going to plot them over here. And if I do that, you'll find that each of these points line up with the top part of the shape's points. So you're going to get another 2 there, a 3 there, and you'll get another 0.6 over here and 0.5 there. And then you can clearly see that there, that would be 0.1, and that there, that would be 0.4. And you'll see if you go and measure each of those are going to be the same measurements that you would have gotten from your measuring from your XY line to each of those points in your auxiliary view. Okay, so now we've got each of those shapes in our top view. Okay, we can lightly in construction go and join those points up so that you can see what that would look like. But now if we take our shape and we have a look at what it looks like from a top view, you can clearly see that there's certain parts that are going to be hidden that you're not going to be able to see. You can see this line at the bottom over here. That bottom line there is actually a hidden line. Yeah, you've got this whole face over here hiding that bottom line there. So that line's going to have to be hidden detail. And then this bottom line as well, you can see that's hiding as well. And then as well as this edge, there's an edge line over here coming from this corner. That edge line there, you can see that's underneath the shape. So that's also going to have to be hidden detail in my top view. Everything else you're going to be able to see. You've got dark lines here for all the lines in the top face of my prism, so that will all be dark. These lines here for all these edges are going to be dark, but then we've got those hidden detail lines, one underneath here, and then these two lines here, which are going to have to be hidden detail. So to draw that out for you, it's going to look like this. We go and darken each of the lines in the top face of our prism. Each of those will be dark, and then these edge lines, remember we said that those are going to be dark lines. There'd be a dark edge line over there and another dark one there. Okay, those were these two lines over here, that dark edge line and that dark edge line, and then there's another dark edge line that needs to come in the middle over there, and that's from my point 1 to that point 1. How do I note those ones? Well, let's look here at my front view again. You can see that edge line there is labeled as line 1, 1. And if we look back here, we can see that that's my line 1, 1 in my top view. Okay, it comes from over there. You flip that up, you can see there's my point 1, 1s. So if I flip that up to my top view, there are my 1s again. So that's the line that's going to have to be the dark line in the top view. And then the hidden detail line are my two 4s. Okay, those are the two 4s that are at the bottom. That would be my hidden detail edge line, but only this piece is sticking out, so that's the only part that I show as hidden detail. And then my line 5, 4 over here and my line 3, 4, those two lines, remember we said that's those two lines at the bottom over there. Okay, so turn that right. It's that line there and that line there. Those are the two edge lines that I'm drawing in now because they are hidden detail lines underneath my shape. And then my point 6, 1 and 1, 2 over there are going to be dark lines. That then completes my top view. Once I've completed my top view, I'm then going to go and draw my left view, but you must look for at the second video, okay, for that left view explanation.